Good afternoon. I would like to say thanks for having me tonight, and I would like to start off, if I can get this to work. Right. I would like to start off, but I can't quite now, so we'll just do it manually. All these words, what do they basically have in common? When you look at them, and I mean, at the end of it, we get the message probably, we probably understand what it means. All of these are initiators of a conversation. It's hello, hi, how you do? But all of this is basically translated with a single gesture, with a movement. I just wave, and I get a response. I initiate conversation on one side, and I get a response from the other. And may you indulge me for a second, and can I just ask you to close your eyes and clap your hands. Thanks. You can look again. This is the ability that you can actually do that you can move and one hand hits the other with your eyes closed, is due to proprioception and kinesthesia. The ability, your senses, that you know where one hand is in the other and you can move them at the same point. Now, the question is, you think about what does that have to do with computing? Well, let's move on with senses briefly. We have sight, touch, hearing. All of these senses are the ones we use to perceive our outside world, to perceive what's around us and what's happening. And if you'll focus actually on the first three are the senses which commonly or traditionally have been used for user interfaces, for communication with technologies. And to explain, or not so much explain, but to highlight that briefly, we just look at the traditional user interfaces we had. We have obviously the hammer and chisel, slightly outdated, not the most efficient form. But let's skip forward a little bit more. We have the computer terminal, the keyboard. I mean, it was a phenomenal invention to really facilitate a lot of work. From that, we moved on to the GUI and the mouse, of course. The mouse, which really started to bring technology closer to the human. More recently, we have the touch screen. I mean, now we're really talking. We're starting to have many more of those sensors in the user interface. In our communication with technology. But what about proprioception? What about kinesthesia? And obviously, we are fully aware that that has increasingly happened. I mean, over the last few years, we had devices coming in which basically use this. We use, focus on kinesthesia here because this is about movement here and about motion. And we have the Wii, we have the iPhone, all these devices are using motion. But are they using it to its full potential, to the real, to coming back to the communication? And we sat down and we thought about this, and we came up with a technology which was termed fliing. And it basically, the basic idea is to have a motion-initiated data transfer. And I mean, it's like, wow, well, the idea was, how do I initiate? I mean, like waving a hand, like shaking a hand, like tossing a business card on a board table. So I initiate communication, but I make a movement. And why does it matter? Because movements and motions are innate to us, are human, are how we communicate. All our user interfaces have come closer and closer to the human being in order to make us more comfortable. As more we have to move to the user interface, as more problems we have. You look at statistics, the highest groups of people who are suffering from carpal tunnel syndrome are data entry, keyloggers, secretaries. I mean, so it is important that we move, that we bring motion, that we bring movement to the human through technology, or technology closer to the human. So the motion-initiated data transfer with the fling, it's pretty straightforward. I was actually supposed to have a partner here today, but he's kept busy by being a daddy right now, and he's in the maternity ward. So I only have this not fantastic, but hopefully somewhat telling little clip. And fling, I pass it out. I have a piece of information, I have a picture, I have a link, I have a note, any kind of information really, and I can just toss it to you. And I can initiate that. And it works. And the motion-based user interface, of which fling is a part, I mean, we are not, there are many aspects of a motion-based user interface, but fling is a part of it. You move, you move. A particular movement creates a particular effect, creates a particular type of data transfer, or initiates a particular type of contact. we know it works. We tried it, we have devices running, and we have a lot of fun playing with it. And fun is actually a pretty important issue. Having fun in doing something, initiating, is really what drives people to use something routinely and more commonly, and brings you back to I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have followed the fun theory commercial type things. I mean, that's something I would always say was worth checking out, because it really highlights how fun has a major impact in us, in our technology, and how we live our lives. So having fun by doing something is pretty important. But what can we actually do with Fling as of yet? Well, we had many ideas, we played around. One of the first things when I got involved with was like, well, I just like to walk up to my morning coffee shop, which is actually, this is my morning coffee shop, and I want to walk past it. I fling my data to it, you know, and I walk in and get my coffee and go out. I don't have to wait in line. It's like, but it's fun. I do this. I fling my data to it, and I just, there it is. And the applications are numerous, and we are still exploring a lot. We're talking to a lot of people. We're having a lot of crazy ideas, and some of the ideas are viable. Some are completely out of the box and not even possibly feasible, and sometimes they're stupid, and we hear that as well. But I think there's a lot of potential, and because it's fun-based, it's a lot of things one can do with it. Now, then we started thinking about Fling and ubiquitous computing, and obviously that didn't just occur to us. I mean, we got in touch, or actually Peter made contact with us and started talking about the possibilities and his ideas and his concepts of having people involved, connecting people with each other, and having it in a community-based spirit, enabling people of an underprivileged background to use technology. And how do you get this? I mean, you have the concept, but how do you get the technology? And the technology can be driven through fun, through something which is enjoyable to do. You participate because it's cool. And so that's a lot of where we thought that an application, a technology platform like this could really play a great part, really, help out in his concepts and his ideas of how to do this. And what's the other aspect of ubiquitous computing is technology like the cloud. I mean, why do I think of a cloud when I talk about a single device? But the technology, the underlying is, we can use Wi-Fi, we can use Bluetooth. Now, Bluetooth does not rely on a fixed infrastructure. It does not rely on a network, which most of the time doesn't exist in underprivileged regions. Bluetooth is device to device, and it multiplies and spreads out. I fling you a piece of information, you fling to 10 friends, and that's how it propagates. And it can do fairly quickly, and the information gets shared. And so this is a technology which can potentially empower regions, and the hardware, all it needs is an accelerometer. We are not OS dependent, we are not device dependent. We have our own proprietary protocols. I mean, all of this is pretty standard and well kept, but the thing is, all we need is a fairly cheap device, and you start moving and you start having fun. And one of the things coming back, and that was actually a lot about the clouds, where we talked about it and we really brought it into the spectrum, was what if we have a graffiti wall in the neighborhood, in the community, a big digital display where people can they fling a new piece of information, new picture on it, and it replaces the oldest one or a newer one or whichever random chosen. And this is how people start explaining and showing their community. It's like, hey, that's what I want to be on there. And it's not just pressing a button. I mean, I understand it's like, some people accuse us saying, oh, you just replace the send button. It's like, well, not quite, because it's fun to do, and you end up doing it. You actually, and trust me, we do it. We just stand there and we just throw a picture to each other. And that's what I can do. And as I said, unfortunately, my device plays up, but I just fling a picture, and I complete it, and I add it. And it's like a graffiti wall you have in a neighborhood where you have, it's tagged full of symbols and pictures, and it's a bit of a history of that region, except it's vandalism as well. But it's a history, and it has multiple layers of stories. A digital wall doesn't lose that. The underlying layers are not lost. I mean, there's a story you can have in a community which can be told to researching into this. And this is where we're hoping to work closely with Peter Shaw, and obviously with companies to maybe really make this happen and have some possibilities here. And basically with this, I would love to say thanks to all your attention. And Peter, both of us are happy to answer any questions, so just address it to Peter, and one will answer. Thanks.